Welcome to episode 2 of Every Naval Battle in History. In episode 1 we covered the first historically recorded battles at sea, known as the Battles of Alisayah, the end of which was probably sometime around 1210 BCE, between what we largely think of today as Turkey and Cyprus. Having waited all of human history, at least the recorded bit, for a first battle, it took a very short wait for the next one, as we get stuck into the Battle of the Delta, which took place sometime around 1190 BCE, just 20 years later. The delta in question is the mouth of the Nile, which makes one of our protagonists the Egyptian Empire. The other player is the mysterious group that modern scholars call the Sea People. It's important to remember that while for us 1190 BCE is almost lost in the myths of the ancient past, the period we think of as ancient Egypt, when the pyramids were built, was another millennia and a half more remote yet. The Great Pyramid was built for Khufu around 2560 BCE in the 4th dynasty. Ramses III, the pharaoh when the Battle of the Delta takes place, was part of the 20th dynasty. The final Egyptian dynasty, the last before the Babylonians, Greeks and then Romans took over, was the 30th, concluding in 343 BCE. That's a lot of numbers, but I hope it gives some perspective to the massive sweep of history along the River Nile. Much is said, but very little is known about the Sea Peoples. Their arrival coincides with the period known as the Bronze Age collapse. Whether they were the cause of the collapse or a symptom of it is in considerable dispute. They have many names, but we don't know what names they had for themselves. For 300 years they wreaked havoc in the eastern Mediterranean, through the 1200 to 900 period BCE. Various modern scholars will hypothesize that they were Trojans, or Philistines, or Etruscans, Minoans, the list goes on. Barring major new discoveries, the truth is that no one knows for sure, and there's a lot of modern fantasy projection involved in most of the theories. What we can say with some certainty about them is that they had the capacity to build large fleets of seagoing ships, which could carry big populations of people, and they appear to have been able to sack walled cities. Both of these things are the mark of very advanced societies. It is a pity they didn't leave written records of themselves, as they must have had considerable organisation. With the cities of Greece, Turkey, Syria, Lebanon and Israel, to give them their modern names, in flames, the Sea People set their sights on Egypt. As usual with battles of antiquity, all we've got to go on as to what technology was available is carved into stone by the winners. Everyone's ship looks like an Egyptian river barge, no doubt because that's what the engraver knew how to do. Although it's worth noting the Sea Peoples appear to have had rather sharp haircuts, and the ships do have masts and sails. A noteworthy innovation in this battle is the first appearance of a staple of naval warfare through the ages, ranged weapons, here in the form of massed Egyptian archers. Nelson is said to have observed, "A ship's a fool to fight a fort." This has a few implications, but one is that a seaborne force should never give up its strategic mobility to fight a set-piece battle against a prepared opponent. In the Battle of the Delta, that unenviable position appears to have been forced onto the Sea People. Ramses III's account suggests massed ranks of archers on the banks of the Nile surprised the invading Sea People, and then Egyptian naval forces trapped them against the hostile shore, with slaughter ensuing. Here are the words from Ramses III's wall. "Now the northern countries, which were in their isles, were quivering in their bodies. They penetrated the channels of the Nile's mouths. Their nostrils have ceased to function so that their desire is to breathe the breath. His Majesty has gone forth like a whirlwind against them, fighting on the battlefield like a runner. The dread of him and the terror of him have entered in their bodies. They are capsized and overwhelmed in their places. Their hearts are taken away, their soul is flown away, their weapons are scattered in the sea. His arrow pierces him who has wished among them, while the fugitive becomes one fallen into the water. His Majesty is like an enraged lion, attacking his assailant with his pawns, plundering on his right hand and powerful on his left, like Set destroying the serpent." While we can agree this is a one-sided account worthy of modern propagandists, the Egyptians do seem to have avoided the catastrophes that befell other civilizations at this time. We also see the importance of being able to project power from shore out to sea to interdict raiders and deny them strategic mobility. Arrows are a very limited ranged weapon, but in war at sea a weapon that is just slightly better than nothing can still be a very powerful advantage. More episodes to come. We've got a lot of ground to cover as we take on every naval battle in history.